Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Let's see here. Then I also invited Cody. Hopefully he'll be on here pretty soon too.
Okay.
Did you have a chance to read everything?
Yeah, it was a lot of it. But I did read through it, but some of it is still not quite all that clear, but it's okay. I think I got the main things, hopefully.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, it just has to be. I think we just have to have a good conversation. That shouldn't be too hard. So,
Okay.
it's all good. Let me just get to the right page here. Um,
Let me get my iPad so that way.
sure.
Okay, that way I have it all pulled up as well. Uh,
So, yeah, my apologies for being so blunt about meeting tonight. What's going on for me is that I'm in a long distance relationship, and the person I'm seeing is flying in at 8:15 tomorrow, Phoenix time,
oh yeah.
which
No,
is
I understand.
right in the middle of what we're doing here. So, and I haven't seen this
No,
person for a month. So,
absolutely. No,
um,
I get it. I mean, my weekend is pretty tight too. This month is hard for me because I have one kid in football and the other one in marching band. It's super
oh
busy. Yeah, because this is the season.
yeah, absolutely, fun stuff all the way around.
Uh-huh.
Let's see here. Okay, so I'm where I need to be. Um, let's give Cody maybe 2 more minutes,
Okay.
and then we'll go ahead and get going.
Okay.
Let's see here. For seven.
So when you do the video call, does it automatically start recording?
Yeah, it should be. Um,
Oh, okay.
as long as you have an account set up
Uh-huh.
with YouTube and so forth. Luckily, I've been through this already with other classes and everything, so I kind of
This is
know.
the first semester. This is the first semester I'm having to deal with it, so I'm not familiar at all.
Yeah, this will probably be a tougher then, but I mean, just try to keep your head and you'll get through it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one thing about BYU is that they want us to do group work, which happens to be the one of the most frustrating things about it. But it is required
Yeah.
to make sure, obviously, that we learn how to work together because obviously that's very important. So
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna send him a message real quick.
Okay.
Um, okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about diversity and so forth.
Mhm.
Let's see here. And if you don't mind me asking, are you of what is your background? Are you full? Um,
I was born in Honduras,
uh-huh.
and then when I was 13, I came to the U.S. and I lived in New York City for I don't know how long until we moved here with my husband. I'm in Texas now,
Okay.
but I basically grew up in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So you are full Hispanic then, right?
Yes.
All right. Cool. Very good. Yeah, I served my mission in Houston, Texas. Spoke Spanish there. Well, we should probably speak English so that the instructor can.
Yes, absolutely.
One
Well, I
second.
live in Dallas, just outside of Dallas.
Oh, I see. Um, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I guess he's telling me that I didn't send him an email. I mean, you can just get on here, right? I mean, you clicked on Hangouts on there, right? And
I clicked on Hangouts in there, and then I had it open when I got your invite.
okay.
So I clicked join.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully he'll be on soon. So, all right. Ask one person at a time to explain one of each of the three diversity paradigms described in Making Differences Matter: the assimilation, differentiation, and integration. Explain the paradigm. Well, I'll go ahead and start.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Yeah, I said, where do I go to accept the HOA invite? You just open up Hangouts, right?
I had Hangouts already open when it started kind of almost like ringing like a phone, and I just went and hit answer.
Okay.
And then I had to click join to get into the.
Okay. Let me see if I send it to him again.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, did you understand what it meant by each of the paradigms?
Well, that was the part that was a little bit confusing to me. Maybe I didn't read, I read it and kind of just went through it. But the assimilation to me is kind of like, let's get a group of people from all over but just, work together. There's nothing more than just, there's people from different walks of life, but there's no, how do I say it? There's no, I don't know how to put it. It's just that. It's just different people from all over working together.
Yeah.
There's no exchanges of culture. Nobody knows anything about the other. You just kind of are part of the group.
Yeah, and well, as far as assimilation, it described it as like, for example, if I had a company and I was trying to sell to, obviously there's plenty of white people to sell to. There's also, I mean, if I said, I'll go ahead and sell to white people because I know white people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to sell to Hispanics, but since I'm not Hispanic, I'll hire somebody who's Hispanic and I'll make
Mm-hmm.
him or her sell
to the Hispanics. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. He's sending me the
Sure.
link. Okay, what is the link, by the way? Let's see here.
It is up here. Hold on, let me.
Oh yeah, it's up here, right?
Yeah, it is up there on the video.
All right. And so that would kind of be like assimilation, that sort of thing. So, but the problem with that is that, I mean, I will never understand if I don't try what works with the Hispanic people, like what is important to them and so forth. And same thing, let's say I wanted to sell to Russians, and so I hired a guy who's a Russian and he did all the work, I mean, I think assimilation is great in that sense, but there should be communication on what works and trying to understand one another still, So, and then differentiation is where we just hire a bunch of people of different colors, but we don't do anything more than that. We're like, okay, we're good, And whereas integration is where.
Let me see. I think that was backwards a little bit, I think. Assimilation is where you have like a group from different places, but everybody's kind of all the same. Like it says uniform behavior. And then the differentiation is where you were saying you hire a Hispanic person to deal with the Hispanic market per se, or Black or African American to deal with that market.
Oh yeah, you're yes. Right. You're right.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, so switch that. Definitely. Okay. So, come on, man. I just send that to you. Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of some examples. Let's give an example of an organization you have observed or worked for that shows some aspect of the paradigm you chose. Explain whether you think the paradigm is effective for the organization. So, for example, I'm going to assign you assimilation. What's a company that you know of that does that?
Assimilation.
Yeah.
I think, well, I don't know. I mean, someone that I can think of that does that. Uniform behavior. I think I may experience that at work, to be honest with you. Where I work, it's not a huge, I work for a doctor. It's a solo practice. So it's not that many employees, but I think that's how basically how we are in our office. It's just uniform behavior. Nothing more, except when every now and then I have to translate for somebody. But other than that, there's nothing more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where Hey, Cody, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, sorry about all the confusion. I'll send that through email. And also, I didn't mean to send an exclamation point on that last text. I tried to
Okay.
send the question mark, and I'm like, oh crap, that sounds very rude, you know. So, so sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. So we're just so we're on the part one of everything, and yeah, as I was telling her, the reason why I had to do it tonight was because tomorrow I'm actually picking somebody from the airport up at 8:15, which would be my time, which is or the time that we have for doing this, and so it's like right, it just would not work at all. So I hope she's doing okay, but that was why I couldn't do it. So, alrighty, so let's see here. So yeah, so I gave her. We're on question number 2, and so you said that a doctor's office was that you work for. They just basically will hire various colors, but they won't do more than that, right?
Well, and not even that. Now that you said that, I'm probably. I think there's 11 employees, and I think there's only 2 of us that are Hispanic, and that's it. I mean, there's no more.
Yeah.
That's as far as diversity goes. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
The other
and
one would be
himself is actually Muslim, but he doesn't count, I guess. He's the boss.
yeah. Cody, have you ever worked for a company or know a company that uses differentiation in their policy for diversity?
What do you mean differentiation for?
Oh well, because you know how there's 3 paradigms that we read about. One was assimilation, which is basically we're gonna just have a bunch of people of different colors and so forth, you know, and then but that's all that they do. They don't do anything more than that.
Yeah.
The differentiation was the whole like, you know, I'm a white guy, so I'll sell to white guys. But if I want to sell to Hispanics, I'll hire somebody who's a good Hispanic. Whereas integration is trying to, yes, we have diversity, but we're trying to learn from one another and grow together by knowing that we're different, and but that's okay type of thing. So yeah.
Most of the businesses that I had, well, so I used to work for CenturyLink and I was a sales rep there, but because it was all inbound sales, like they hired anyone, and there was no issues with diversity or discrimination because they literally hired anyone and everyone. And then they didn't use any type of specific people to sell to specific people. So because it was all just you take the calls as they come or you make outbound calls as they come. So CenturyLink, I would say, is pretty diversified and does a good job at being non-discriminatory.
Yeah.
In regard to employees working with customers. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've ever worked for a company who has said, okay, we are going to do integration, but I mean, I have heard of certain companies that will try to make different programs to try to cater to the desires and so forth of everybody and with their backgrounds and so forth. I've heard that does happen. Let's see here, question 3. Melody Hobson says color blindness is dangerous. Do you agree? Is she making a point similar to one made by the authors of Making Differences Matter? So is color blindness, is it dangerous?
So I don't, personal opinion, I don't think there could be true equality in the world because each of us are different. And true equality would be like we all are the exact same, which we obviously know is not the case. And so I think, just like she was saying, Melody Hobson, is that having different people in there from different backgrounds and different life experiences make things better and also change things. And so, I mean, I agree with like we should actually go ahead. I feel like, and I'm not going to say, oh, we hired you because you are this, and we want to exploit that, because you are a different race or a different gender or a different religion. But we want to go and embrace the differences because they can bring things. And so that's how I feel about it. So I think trying to make everyone the same mold is the dangerous aspect of it because we don't want people the same mold because then everyone's just normal or the same and nothing really ever changes because everyone will be doing the same thing. You want those people that are different to push the boundaries and the changes. So
Yeah, very, very, very true. All right, let's go to the next section. It says, what does Hobson mean about being color brave? So, let me ask you, Livia,
Mhm.
what does it mean to be color brave, in your opinion?
To me, it means accepting, accepting that people from different backgrounds can bring in, it can be valuable regardless of where they can come from. They can bring just about the same as everybody else to a company or whatever it is that's being done. I think when you have people from multiple cultures, there's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of knowledge to be shared, and there's a lot of things to be learned.
Absolutely.
That's what that means to me.
Okay. Another definition, I think, is when she was talking about being willing to stand up against any kind of discrimination, if there's something that's being said, or if there's a practice that perhaps needs to be modified a little bit, is saying, hey, I think we could probably do something different right here, and I think that would work as well. So I think both are good answers right there. And again, being able to use people of different backgrounds is really important, and it's also very healthy, I think, as well. So, the authors of Making Differences Matter explain that some managers are more comfortable addressing problems with outright discrimination than more subtle diversity problems. Have you ever been in a team, group, or organization where one person's ideas or approach to doing work was hard for the rest of the group to understand because of a difference in background, experience, or gender, or race, or something else? Cody, did you get all that?
yeah, I'm reading it. I was trying to follow with you. So
Okay, yeah. Are there any kind of stories that you know of where you see stuff like that?
And sorry, what number were we on again? My apologies.
Oh, it's all good. We're on number 2 for part 2. And so, yeah,
Okay.
I was just asking you, Cody, have you ever been in a team or a group where one person's ideas were totally different than everybody else's, maybe because they were a different race or background or something?
No, not really.
Not really.
Unfortunately, living in Idaho, I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty, conservative, white, religious. I mean, there's been a few things and a few different things. I mean, because obviously we had Hispanics or Black people or Latino people and people from Costa Rica or Guatemala with here. But I mean, mostly with the stuff that I've been in, it's just mostly entry level stuff. So there's not really any. I mean, everyone's pretty much the same. So the major difference is just what we would deem like moral lifestyle. So
correct. Yeah, I'm sure that's how it is more for Idaho. And it's kind of like that, or it has been in the past with like Gilbert and Mesa in where I'm from. Just a lot of this conservative white people as well. But yeah, I mean, every now and then, and I think a good example was my mom. In her ward, there's actually a Black lady who's a convert who stood up one time and said, "Hey, I don't understand why it's so hard to do visiting teaching. Maybe it's because of where I come from. But I tell you, that's exactly what we need to do, and it shouldn't be that hard. I've been through much worse than this. There's no reason why you can't visit, 2 families in 1 month or whatever, So, and so that was a pretty cool thing to hear about. What could have been done in that situation to gain from diversity of the group? Let's see here. Let me read that again. Well, first of all, let me ask you, Livia, have you ever been in a situation where one person's due to their difference of background, maybe a minority or whatever, or perhaps you, since you are Hispanic, have you ever been in a situation where you or somebody else's background was completely different from what was going on, and so forth.
Well, yeah, I mean, I experience it every day. Like I said to you before, I work for a small practice and with a doctor, and part of the administrative staff. I'm the only one. I'm the only Hispanic. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody else, there's 4 of us, including the manager, and I'm the only minority.
Yeah.
So I experience it every day. It's and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's, for the most part, I think it's okay. I've been with them for 7 years, but sometimes things I hear or the things they're said, especially nowadays regarding everything going on around us, it gets hard sometimes to,
Really?
because they don't count that they don't. One day I think I did say something about whatever was being talked about, and then everybody said to me, "Well, you're American citizen," and that, yes, I am, but that still doesn't mean that I'm not Hispanic. And so I think that they don't get that sometimes. That yes, when I speak English and I am a U.S. citizen and all that, I'm still an immigrant and I still have a different background that they do.
Yeah.
They don't see it like that sometimes, so it's hard.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't gone through it, I mean, and then people are probably not going to think of it like that. Yeah. So in that situation, what do you think can be done, or what are some things that, like, are these problems with employees or with customers?
No, employees mostly. I mean, obviously customers, they for the most part, they come and go, and that's it.
Right.
But with employees, the people that I'm there, with every day, that's who sometimes the problems are with, because I don't feel that they understand sometimes. And coming, like I told you before, I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
So it's completely different there,
Yeah.
where you have people from all walks of life every day. So you're used to that. You're used to people's, other beliefs. You're used to people's accents. You're used to all kinds of things like that. And then I came here, and it's completely different.
Oh yeah. From there, yeah.
It was, so yeah, it was kind of a shock at first. Now I've been here for 12 years in Texas, but it still doesn't. I feel like sometimes people still don't get us. Don't, especially at work for me, it's still hard sometimes.
Really? Well,
Yeah, when sometimes it happens that somebody answers a phone call and well, Livia, somebody with an accent, you can take that call. It's kind of like that. I'm not even kidding about that part. Somebody with an accent, so I gotta get it. I'm like, what do they speak Spanish? Well, I don't know, but they probably do. Sometimes they don't. But yeah, those are things that I deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cody, based upon her situation, what do you think are some things that can be done to fix that? Any ideas?
So I think so I used to work for Hewlett Packard, and I was thinking back to a time, and we actually had a whole team that we'd work with that lived in Mexico. And so we would talk to them a lot, basically, to go ahead, because they were the ones that we placed the orders, but they were the ones that did the back end shipping side of the orders. And so I just remember in that situation where us here, actually try to kiss their butts type thing. We sucked up to them, and we became best friends with them technically, because the nicer we were to those people, the faster our orders got out, which means happier customers, which means that they would go out and purchase. And so I think it was, I remember there having to learn about them and their culture, and they work different days than we did sometimes because of American holidays, and they didn't work holidays, or they did work the holidays. And so it was just interesting to be we wanted to get to know these people because of how they could help us. And not to say that we should, get to know people to use them to help us, but I think that's one thing. If you're in a group, then you should realize, like, hey, we all can go ahead and bring things to the table that are going to benefit us and be different. And so I think if that's put out there at front, like by the managers, or that's the culture of the business, is saying, hey, everyone has something that can be brought to the table that will benefit us. And especially your different backgrounds are going to be able to benefit us. And so I think that was, I just remember that and having to learn. I mean, they were nice, but then the more we talked to them, the more we became friends with them and talked to them over IM or phone calls or sent pictures back and forth, they started really opening up, and then we were able to get things done faster, and that made them happy because they realized they were helping us type thing and helping the customers. And so I think to go ahead and bring the diversity there is to go ahead and make a culture where it's accepted that things are different and people have different things that they can bring to the table. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think people need to be open to that too, because in some cases they're just not willing to do anything.
Yeah, I gotta try keep on breaking down that barrier. Yeah, and I like the whole. I mean, the whole aspect of saying, hey, we're different, but that's okay. We don't have to be the same, and that sort of thing. So. Let's see here. Many companies still do have problems with outright discrimination. Have you ever worked for or observed a company where there are outright discrimination problems? What was the experience like? I have not had that problem. I will talk about. Do you guys remember that story a couple of years ago with the NBA? Who was the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers? He was caught, I guess, talking down about minorities and trying to get his significant other to stay away from minorities and that sort of thing. And it was caught by TMZ. TMZ broadcast it. ESPN was all over it in a heartbeat, and the NBA finally got rid of him. And that sort of thing. And I mean, I thought a lot about that, and yeah, it was terrible what he said. It is amazing that our conversations can be recorded, but at the same time, without a doubt, for him to say those things was not cool. So, have you guys heard that story?
It rings a bell. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like he's not the owner of the Clippers anymore, but it's just I don't know how the NBA was able to do that, because I've heard the owners have, I don't know, they have a lot of rights and a lot of power and so forth, but they were able to get rid of him apparently, and because they wanted to say, hey, there's no way we can have any of that in our league and that sort of thing. So that's an example of where I kind of feel like discrimination is still there, in our society, and now it's not all the time. I think sometimes an accusation of discrimination can be given quickly without, knowing the person. Sometimes, and that sort of thing. But I do think there are still problems. Ironically enough, the next question is about ESPN. Let's see here. What did John Skipper, ESPN president, mean when he answered yes to the question, do we hire the minority or the person who is most qualified? So that question was asked, do we hire the minority or do we hire the person that is most qualified? And his answer to that was yes, and that's it. Do you believe that this is the right approach for hiring diversity? Cody, what do you think?
So actually, when I interviewed my father-in-law, he brought up this, and he lives in Gresham, Oregon, which is just outside Portland, Oregon. And he talks about he's trying to fill a position. There's 15 candidates, and 11 of them are not what you considered Caucasians that lived in America for a long time.
Right.
And so he goes, we want to hire diversity, and majority of the applicants are part of the minority, I guess you would say, in America. Because the problem comes to where you're dealing with tax laws and federal laws, and you have these surprisingly, his majority of the customers they have are kind of conservative Caucasians, and he goes, the issue is if you can't understand them and you're not willing to put the time to understanding them, he's talking about his customers because he has no issue with hiring the people. He's saying if my customers are not willing to put the time in to understand these people, even if they have a little accent, is that going to go ahead and hurt the business? And so he goes, that's the problem that we face right now is that, you know, we want to hire these more people. We want to have more diversity in our culture. But if our customers are not willing to put the time in there to understand them or ask them to repeat the question or ask them to explain it in a different way and they lose that customer, was that worth it?
Yeah.
And so that was in my interview. And I wish I had brought up like, well, how do you feel about if that did happen, but now you can get different customers because that person has now opened a new avenue or can show you different perspectives or show you different things than what you're used to. Do you think that'd be a trade-off? I wish I was able to ask that question to him. That was a question I thought of after I was writing up my interview. But I just think, I think people want to do it. I think people see themselves as good and see themselves as, yeah, I'm not, you know, racist or ageist or whatever ist, and so I'm willing to hire anyone. But I think sometimes it's hard to go ahead and be like, well, this guy I can understand better, and I think a lot of us deal with communication, a big thing. If we can't understand someone right away, then sometimes we're less lenient to be their friends or to help them out type thing. Does that make sense? So
Yeah. And it's amazing how hard I think it can be for somebody to want to have patience with somebody who has a harder time communicating. And, you know, the easy answer I think would just to be, okay, well, you are exactly who I am and where I come from, so let's just use you, you know, whatever. Yeah, that is definitely a situation for sure. How about you, Olivia? When it comes to John Skipper, has said yes, we should hire the minority and the most qualified. Do you think this is the right approach for hiring diversity? You basically said that the question was, should we get the best person or just
Or
somebody?
get the minority.
Yeah. Oh, and he said yes. So that was it. So what's your thought?
Honestly, I think to me, it's whoever's the most qualified. That's what I think. Whether it's a minority or not. Because I think that you have highly qualified people from everywhere. It's just those people have to be given the opportunity. So if it's someone who's the most qualified and it happens to be a minority, great. But if it's not, then that's fine too. But that's what I would go with, the most qualified.
Yeah, and this is also a thing that is talked about in sports as well. I don't know why I keep remembering this, maybe because ESPN makes a big old stink about a lot of political things recently. But there's a rule in the NFL that there needs to be. I believe it's a rule, but they're trying hard to make sure that at least some people in the business, whether they're like a general manager or in the management position for a certain team, or if they're the head coach, they want to be able to get somebody in those positions to be somebody of color or somebody who is not Caucasian. With the NFL, pretty much for the most part, it's all black and white. You know, as far as the players, you know, with here and there's maybe a Hispanic player.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever you go to baseball, it's white, Hispanic, and a bit of black. You know, you just kind of see that. You know. Anyway, they're trying hard to get not just black players in the NFL, but they're trying to get people who are black and other colors to actually be head coaches and management making decisions and so forth and everything. And the question is, well, do we hire somebody to be a head coach just because he's black? Or do we hire somebody to be like the Cardinals where I'm from, last year they hired a woman to be like I believe it was an offensive line coach or something like that, and that prompted discussion, like, are they hiring her just because she's a woman, or are they hiring her because she's the right person for the job? And it's a hard thing because I know if I were a minority, I would never want to be hired just because of who I am, Like they said, we want redheads, to be a head coach. Well, here I am. You better hire me or whatever, just because I'm a redhead or whatever. But at the same time, I understand their desire to want to have diversity. And so it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to try to find that balance. I know for me, I would love to see more people of color in any company, but at the same time, I also want people to earn it too. So it's a hard balance there, I think.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's go to part 3. This is kind of going towards the end of our discussion for tonight. Elder Ballard describes a church council. Does the ward council he described follow the integration paradigm? Yes or no? And explain your answer. So, Cody, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, give me a second here.
Sure.
So, I live it because integration is the one where, let's see here. Yeah, I would say it does because the women, I was a society president or like the primary president or someone was able to go ahead and point out like, hey Bishop, you're not doing what we want to do. And so I feel like that ward council that President Ballard had described did do the integration paradigm in regards to those people that were there, and was able to say, hey, even for upper management, we don't like what you're doing. Can you please stop? And so, and the woman's able to speak out. So I would say yes.
Yeah, it's I think so too. I mean, to be able to bring everybody, because I mean, sometimes we're accused in our church of not being fair to women, whereas we're like, no, they have all sorts of responsibilities. They're very active in our church. They do great things. In fact, we don't want to give them more responsibility because we don't want to overload them. That's kind of how we'll sometimes respond. I like how even though it's somebody who might be perceived as just the primary president or whatever, or because it's not a priesthood calling or whatever, how she can have as much of a voice as anybody else. And a very important voice, even when it comes to the bishop himself. And I think that our church tries very hard to use that, and that's very important. So yeah, I think that if a ward council meeting is going the way it should be, then it is definitely using the integration paradigm.
Hinckley saying, I remember President Hinckley saying, like, you have truths in your church, come to our church and we'll add up on those truths. So even there, hey, your church, but also that could go to, your race, your gender, your creed, like whatever you want to go ahead and differentiate yourself by. Come to our church. We have more truth, but you're still welcome here, and you're able to go ahead and you will benefit us just as much as we can benefit you, type thing.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, I think it's really important to, and in fact, we try very hard, I think, to welcome as much of culture from all around the world as we can. The only time that we've kind of been like, be careful. I remember one time Elder Scott gave a talk about welcoming culture, but being careful that if you're inviting culture type of things that are against the gospel of Jesus Christ, then obviously you need to be careful with that. But otherwise, we should celebrate it. So if you go to the Polynesian Islands, some men will wear these, I don't know what they're called, but they look kind of like skirts in a way, but it's part of their culture and it's totally okay. Whereas here, it may not be understood as well or whatever, or, like for example, I went to Dubai, which is in the Middle East, in April of this year, but on vacation. We went to church on Friday, which is their Sabbath day, because that's when they, I believe it's their Sabbath day. That's where they were basically, I think, going to their mosques and so forth, and it's also based on how the society is run there, where Friday is a day off, but yet on Sunday and so forth, they're still doing business. They're back to work and so forth. So. Things accommodate various culture and so forth while still trying to keep the gospel of Jesus Christ intact. Mm-hmm. And so I like that about our church. How could a bishop use the diversity of his councils to help the ward?
I feel like the ward is going to be made up of different people. You're going to have males, you're going to have females. So having the Relief Society president and the primary president there automatically go ahead and give you a channel into the female. Does that make sense? It's not just a bunch of males and then they have females underneath them. At the same time, if you have different races or different cultures or even different backgrounds, recent converts or, some type of converts, they can go ahead and also be like, I as a convert had this issue and I don't feel like this was addressed, so there's an issue I had, and so he can go ahead and talk about how he would like to use like the Elders program or maybe the primary program to help fellowship people differently. So I feel like you have all these people that have all these different backgrounds and circumstances that can go ahead and solve the problem. And bishops hardly ever have the answer, it feels like sometimes. And so that's why they have these councils, so that way they can get the answers and also be able to figure out how these people are interacting with. Because, bishop can't meet with everyone every single day or every week.
Yeah.
So he has his delegates go ahead and figure out like what people need and how they feel. And then also go ahead and, if the Elders Quorum president sees a family that's having trouble, he knows how to cater activities to them to help them fellowship or something. So I think you can use the diversity to go ahead and benefit people. So
yeah, very good. Livia, how could a bishop use diversity in his councils to help the ward? What are some ideas that you have?
Well, I go to a Spanish ward,
yeah.
But still, I think the way the church is organized, with home teachers and visiting teachers, and it's really not meant for the bishop to do everything.
Yeah.
If everything's done, the way it's supposed to be, it's not meant for him to do everything. But in my case, I've seen the bishop, relying on the sisters, on the Relief Society president, or the Young Women's president, or primary, whatever it is. I've seen him do that. I've seen him rely on that, and then use whatever information, whatever they bring to the table to help families. I really have been. I think. Yeah, I've always been in the Spanish word, so I don't. As far as diversity goes, we just all come from different countries. That's it. But even so, we're still different. We're still different. So I may know, how, people from Honduras think, in certain situations, and somebody else may think of people from Mexico or wherever they're from. So it still works out, and it still helps the bishop. Because we have to, even though we all speak Spanish, our cultures can be different.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I saw in Texas. Is I met, I went to Spanish-speaking wards, and we talked to people from Mexico all week, and then we'd eat dinner Saturday night every week with a couple where he was from Ecuador, and she was from Venezuela.
So,
And we never had tortillas. We had rice. We had different meats, but it wasn't like the Spanish rice that the people that from Mexico would make. It was different the way they talk, and so forth. I talked to somebody from Argentina. It's like yo soy amarillo,
uh-huh.
yo sé que, as opposed to Mexico, they'd be like tortilla amarillo, something like that. And so
Different Spanish.
what's that?
Different Spanish from everybody. You're right. And so sometimes it's hard to understand. Like for a bishop, right now our bishop is from Mexico, so I know that there are a lot of things that are completely different. Or my husband's from Ecuador, and there are words that to him are not bad words, but to me they are. Being from Honduras, I eat tortillas. He doesn't. He eats the best rice, like you said. So it's just different. So the bishop, in my case, I've seen him take advantage of that and take advantage of the sisters and in the elders forum, as far as understanding families and helping them out. And it's the way it's supposed to work. If it's done correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get towards the end of it because I know I actually got to go to my next class.
Okay.
But this will be the very end. The Making Differences Matter article assumes there is some value to companies in promoting a diverse workforce. Do you agree? What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? So this is kind of summing it all up, but Cody, what are the advantages? Or first of all, do you agree that there's value to having diversity, first of all?
Yeah, I definitely agree that there's value in diversity, and that we should go ahead and promote that diversity. The disadvantage is you're going to have that uncomfortable period when people are trying to accept that and accept differences instead of just try to fit everyone in the mold. So it's going to be like that growing pain type situation or scenario. The advantages, though, is that people that are diversified are going to have different answers and different suggestions. Conflict breeds resolutions. So having the conflict of different diversities, racial backgrounds, genders, ages is going to allow your company, your ward, your organization, whatever it is, to be more profitable and to be better because you're going to have more experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you have two people that were raised the exact same way, they only know that way. But if you bring three people together that all live different way, you just increase your knowledge exponentially because you have three different backgrounds and three different knowledge bases on how to do things.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think it's good. I just think the issue is going to be the growing and the uncomfortableness of being like, hey, you have a different life and background, religious beliefs, whatever. So do I. But we need to embrace these two things and go ahead.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah, that's very difficult wanting to look at other things. Even in the white culture, for example, there's a lot of people in Arizona that love country music. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. But then again, my background is my mom hammered me with classical music growing up. We didn't have one bit of Western or country Western culture, from Western movies to cowboy hats or anything like that. We didn't have any of that. And so I think it's hard for me to even to go up to a white guy who is a cowboy and find commonality. It's hard for me to even embrace that and be like, okay, well, this is totally different from what I'm used to, so I'll go ahead and try to understand that. I'm a drummer. I play the piano. I have a guitar. I like rock and roll. I like the Beatles, not Garth Brooks. And so, it's so different from what I'm used to. You can probably see some of the stuff in the background. All my instruments and everything. It's just what I'm used to. But if I wanted to approach this the way I should, it's kind of like I have to. I got to a point in my life where I'm like, what? Even if I don't get it, I try to encourage people that if you like country music or you like something else, as long as it's clean, play it loud, play it proud type of thing. I will do my best to try to understand. So getting to the point of like, I don't like it, country music, but I do have a lot of respect for Garth Brooks, George Strait, Randy Travis, some of these guys who are unbelievable good songwriters, even though I can't stand the music. I do what I can. And at least in that area, there's a little bit of commonality, it's even harder for me to embrace that. Like, for example, if I try to go to, like, I love the Hispanic culture in Mexico. Their food, their culture is beautiful. It's just like music like norteña stuff. I just have the hardest time listening to that. Ranchero, it's just not my thing. So that would take even more of like, you know what, this is just not where I come from. But I need to come out of myself a little bit and be like, okay, so why do you like this music, and why does it move you, and try to understand that. That's hard, but that's what people need to do. So the second question is, what approach would you take when it comes to diversity as a manager? I would do stuff like that. I would try to just kind of walk out of myself and stand in their shoes and really try to understand where they're coming from. Because it'll be worlds different. When I was in Dubai, I saw an unbelievable, huge difference in the way people are over there. It was unbelievable, But at the same time, I learned a lot and was very uplifting and saw some great things. But it caused me to break out of my shell, so that sort of thing, and see some different things. And so that's why it's so important. So anyway, that's all I have. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we close?
I think that just basically that just taking the best that people bring. There might be things that you don't like. There might be things that you're not used to, but still, someone will always bring something positive to the table, and you can take that. You can take the positive, and just kind of walk away from the rest of the stuff. But everybody can be valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely. Cody, anything before we go, or?
No, I just agree with that. If I was a manager, I would, go ahead and make an expectation to people that there's going to be different people here and different, ideas and stuff, and we're going to embrace that and use that to our advantage.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your contribution. I'll go ahead and I'll put this link in the assignment and everything. I kind of did the best I could under short notice.
Thanks for doing that.
No problem. I hope she's doing okay. I just couldn't do it tomorrow or Saturday. It would have definitely been really hard to do that. So, but I hope she's okay. I think I want to send her a message. Maybe it's a really bad, it's a bad emergency or whatever, to contact the instructor, so that he understands that sort of thing. So anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna close this out, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.